what did we talk about on today's show? I can even make this the cold open to my version of the show because I forgot to write down anything. We talked about Lost. That was on there.
Lost,
Back
acupuncture.
at back injuries, acupuncture, pick'em, underdog pick'em
Pick 'em.
leagues,
What happens when you don't work out for a long time?
muscle atrophy. Do you think that's good for
Muscle
SEO?
atrophy. Yeah, muscle atrophy. Does SEO even really exist anymore in the AI generation?
I don't know. I mean,
I've heard it doesn't really.
yeah, that's just what they're telling you, so you don't do it.
Sure, maybe.
I
Maybe.
still live under the impression that making the title of whatever something is something that is searchable that people would want to search and tells you what it is probably the best route instead of having like a pun title.
Correct. Yeah.
Sale GP.
Sale GP.
I think that pretty much
Uh
covers it.
Taylor Swift. You got to throw Taylor Swift in there. That's very good for the algo.
Yeah, but we didn't really talk about that, did we? That'd be like saying
You
that
don't have
Elshon Jeffrey should go inside the title of this.
remember that guy?
Yeah, apparently he retired in 2020.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
So we have not done a show since you changed the sponsorship of the flagship program to Underdog.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, we can use that first 2 minutes as the opening to the show and get into it right now. Yeah, I'm with Underdog now. It's a lot of fun. I hope that I have an announcement coming next week about a new type of game for golf, which will then go into football if we can get it off the ground and enough people participate.
A new well, I mean, look, a new type of game is always interesting and welcoming. I mean, I love drafting anyway, so it's pretty like I'm all for it anyways. Like that is
it will have nothing to do with drafting.
so that's what I was getting to was I was just wondering, is that one of the driving things behind the partnership is a non-draft based game, non-draft based something, because I know that you are you're a busy man, you're a father, you're a man in his mid to late 30s, not so much wanting to sit there and continually draft with his manually do it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't even get credit for mid 30s anymore. I am firmly in the camp of late 30s. But I just wanted to design, like I did something a few years ago and just I had to track it by a spreadsheet. And I don't know how this is going to be tracked if we can actually, like, it needs to clear their terms and services. But it was one of the parts of my negotiations. Like, this is something I really want to do. It's something that I would like to participate in. I know my audience would really like to participate in it. And I think it'd be good for, like, because JJ signed on at the same time that I did. So I'd been talking to JJ beforehand that maybe we can get like, you know, your viewers versus my viewers, maybe like Pete's community and, you know, everything like that. We have like, it would be fun in that way, but it's basically just like a season-long pick'em game. I much prefer pick'ems to drafts. Like, it's not even close. Like, during the major season for best ball, that was a lot of fun because you had 6 weeks to draft as many teams you wanted to draft. I could hop in, hop out every 10 minutes. It was easy to find things, but outside of like the giant football one, sometimes there is a lag. Like, I don't want to, because I drafted one of mine, like, for every week we run the Pat Mayo Experience Classic for single round showdown, like showdown 1 round golf drafting. I was like, if we could get this to 4 rounds, like I would have an easier time like pushing this on everyone. But it's fun to do 1 round, but it's not something I'm going out of my way to doing. It's just like I never play showdown. It's not something I'm into. But I do make pick'em slips every day.
Well, I mean, pick'em slips are way more like they're quicker, they're easier. You don't have to feel the burden of like, oh, I gotta like research, I gotta be dialed in. I mean, look, Underdog marketing is very strong in that sense where I don't do pick'em slips every day, but you know what I do is whenever I get the Discord notification that there's a special or a discount or whatever, guess what? I'm picking up my app. I am firing. I'm in a state where I have to do champions, so I have to do the peer-to-peer game. Yeah, and I will fire 95% frequency when there's a special, basically.
Good news for you. I had a guy on from Covers that I actually already recorded the show. It comes out next week, and he covers
Okay.
the legalization of gambling and daily fantasy and everything like that for Covers. And he had made mention that Missouri might be the next state up because they're getting a lot of pressure from all the sports teams because they're losing a bunch of revenue to Kansas.
The Chiefs are I mean their elbow is on the neck because the Hunt family bought a shit ton of land out in Kansas, like miles and miles and miles. So the Chiefs are in Missouri and they're basically saying we're sick of it. We're over it. Like we want to bounce. So that is actually not surprising to me at all. And is that good? Is it bad for me to have 100% full on legalized gambling all the time? Like honestly, hard to say. There is something that is a little bit nice about I mean, obviously I have access to gambling all the time if I really want it, but to have to go get a special on one of these sports books or whatever, or like for the majors, right? So for the PGA Championship, I got in my car and I went and drove 20 minutes over to Illinois and go and fire. And like, I don't know, is kind of, it's nice to have it as a treat, basically.
Yeah. So going back to the pick'em, I just think that my audience will resonate with pick'em a little bit more because changing like the main contest from DraftKings over to Underdog, I mean, it went pretty smoothly. It fills every single week. So thanks to everyone who goes and plays in it. And it is fun to do drafts, like absolutely. But I do think that there was something to people could log on for the PME Open and building a DraftKings lineup, and they get to pick their 6 guys and then move on with the rest of their day. Like they don't have to wait for people to be around, or maybe they end up in a harder draft room. It's one day, and one day research is a lot different than full round research, so it's not 1v1 in that way. Where with Pick'em, I feel like it's very much the same. Where you go in, you pick your 5 things that you like. There's a bunch of different fantasy props. You could do rivals and head-to-heads if you want to. So there's just more options that you can go through. And you're not on someone else's clock when you're doing it. You can, make 2 picks in the morning, leave those saved on your phone, come back a little bit later and be like, all right, now I want to, like, I did a bit more research. I listened to something. I read something. I want to do this, this, and this. I checked the weather. I'm going to do this, this, and this instead. So you can spend 30 seconds doing it. You can spend 20 minutes doing it. You can spend 4 hours doing it if you wanted to. But now it's on your clock to do, not someone else's, which I know for me that I prefer that.
I mean, that seems to be one of the things that most people have a hang up on from DFS to the daily contests or whatever, which is just like the time commitment. It's like, draft takes time, like especially like a best an 18 round Underdog best ball draft. It takes 45 minutes conservatively. It definitely can take longer. I mean, I'm pretty interested in any kind of season-long contest that could exist for golf, because the options right now are like there's the big one and done pool, and like I'm dead in that by this time of year anyway.
Hey, listen, I just jumped from 3,000th place to 800th place, so I'm just outside the money in my second entry now.
Did you have Davis Riley?
No, it was a few weeks ago. I had Rory and Xander the week because I have 2 teams, and my 2 picks were Rory and Xander for that week. So the team that I was like dead last in, I had Rory.
Okay, I'm in 992nd place. So I'm drawn live. I can get my money back with I need like one good shipper.
If you hit 2 of the next 3 winners, not including this week, there's an elevated event, a major, then an elevated event. You'd be in like 10th place if you hit 2 winners.
I mean, I needed Bryson to close out at the PGA, and just so that was what's the pay jump from 2 to 1 at the PGA, like another like $800,000 or something.
It's probably like 1.5 million.
Yeah, it's probably more. So that was pretty. I mean, that was one of the most tilting rounds of golf I've ever watched.
Anyway, to get back to the point where this could be a season-long contest starting next year, like we can do like a little mini one week per week. You get bonuses, and it would be like, hey, you need to play a 5 pick'em entry each of the 4 rounds that we go through.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And then total amount right over those 4 entries would end up being the winner. So theoretically, you could lose all of your pick'em entries. You'd still have to submit some, like you'd still be, put $20 in, try to win 200 or $10, whatever the amount is. But if you went 4 out of 5 and didn't take the insurance on any of them, you just straight up lost all of them. But for the week, you went 16 of 20. 16 of 20 might be enough to actually win the contest that week.
Well, oh, I didn't even think about it that way. That's very fascinating. Where it's like sure you bricked all your slips and you went over, but you had a bunch of 4 or 5s, so you ended up so it's a concurrent thing. It's not This is the issue that has always existed with fantasy based games around props, is that you're not actually making the wager itself. You're theoretically making the wager inside a contest. So I love the idea of both things being true.
Yeah, like you actually have to play a real entry in order for it to qualify. And I think that I'll have like a Google Sheets up where anyone that's used code Mayo to sign up, which everyone listening to this or watching this should do, get a deposit bonus in Underdog Fantasy of up to $250. Why you're just leaving $250 on the table? What are you doing over there? Like, give your head a shake. Go get on that. But if you've used code Mayo in the past, you're automatically like a registered user underneath your username for this contest. And then I'll have a Google Sheet up as well that if you already had an account but didn't use code Mayo to sign up, that you can get into it that way as well. That's the whole theory behind it. I have no idea if it's going to happen, but this has been sort of a passion project of mine, and Underdog was really the right partner to do this with. And I've just had a lot of fun doing the pick'ems every single week too. Kenny Kim on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate Show is like labeled himself Mr. Underdog. I think he won his like first 20 pick'em slips.
First 20 pick'em slips.
I don't know if it was that
is...
much, but like he crushed like the first month. It was crazy. He won like 20 grand.
So I had a similar experience that when I first started doing the pick'ems, things went very well. Like my first like 3 big slips went very well, and then you clearly realize the reality of making 5-pick player prop parlays after a while, which is it's you don't know ball as much as you think you do. Although with golf, there is always the element that the pricing will be wrong based on the course conditions, where the course will be much easier or much harder than the market is anticipating. So I that's a sneaky one to look out for. So like great example being the opening round of the PGA Championship, everyone went low.
Yeah.
And the lines were all like even par or 1 stroke below par, and everyone went low.
I'm hoping that's going to be the case this week in Canada, because I just found, just going through all the information based on the course, if it plays similar to how it did in 2019, although the conditions are pretty optimal in terms of no wind, pretty good temperature for Canada and Hamilton. I mean, it could be warmer, I suppose, but you can kind of, it's almost like we used to do with the same game parlays where we take under passing yards, but or under receptions, but over passing yards. That if you do that in a Underdog pick'em entry, the same theory applies to it, that if you play like an over or a higher on one and a lower on the other of a similar type of fantasy prop, that it's like an anti-correlation. It actually gives you more of a boost in terms of the payout, because like, oh, if that thing is happening, then that thing shouldn't happen. But that's not necessarily the case for golf, right? So you can go higher birdies or better because the course has like 7 really easy holes, but you can also go with other players higher on their bogeys or worse, because there's 8 holes with a bogey or worse percentage of 20% or more. So I found that putting one of each into a slip just, I wouldn't say exponentially increases your odds, but it really juices them up.
That's pretty. I think that's like a pretty interesting angle. I really, to be honest, most of what I do is I am just taking.
I like Bryson today, and I think he's going to go low. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, or arbing or arbing. So like you can get stuff where like if you check like Pinnacle head-to-heads, you can be like, oh, the markets are really shading towards Morikawa today, whatever. Yeah, but I mean it is mostly like I like Bryson. Although they the whole 18 driving distances at the major, some of those were really off by like 20 yards. Like like Michael Block, I think, had the same driving distance as Morikawa on one of the holes or something on the 18th hole. So I mean, you gotta pay attention pretty close. And look, I'm not making any guarantee that if you advantage trade against Underdog that they're not going to nuke you, but every once in a while there will be some of those spots that are actually profitable.
And these are the type of things that even Tambo and I have started to talk about pick'em instead of doing the draft on the show for round ones on Wednesday. And just it leads to a better conversation for us because we're really digging into, hey, like we found that it's going to be 11 degrees Celsius when the guys hit the course on Thursday at the Canadian Open, which I think is like 52 Fahrenheit. It's pretty cold for what?
That's pretty cold.
But it gets up to like 75 4 hours later, like for the afternoon. So we targeted for that bogeys or worse, we targeted all the guys playing in the 11-degree weather, not the guys playing in the 20-degree weather. We went under or over for their birdies, trying to see if that works out. Like it's a lot of it's trial and error too. And if one guy's just playing well, you're absolutely screwed. But I think by the law of averages, that was the right decision.
I would have never thought of that angle. Yeah, I would have not gotten deep enough in the weeds, I think, to get to that angle. But I do like it. Have you been playing? How have you been? Have you been shooting?
So I started the year off great because I changed my swing over the winter. Like I've gone through swing changes each of the past 3 years, and this winter my coach.
You have the yips though.
I do. Well, here's the thing. So I opened the year. I just played like a dummy round. I shot like 87 after like shanking 5 balls into the woods, just like it was freezing out first round of the year. And then like the next 5, like I've been playing a ton, 83, 81, 77, 78, 81, 79. It was awesome. And then I just lost it. I shot 97. Then I was 97 again, then 95. And this all happened to me before I was going up to Cabot to play on a trip like we had booked back in January. And I was just trying to figure out, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what is going on in your head that you just are duck hooking the ball for the first time in 30 years kind of thing. And I did get that. I mean, I had 1 or 2 like bad hooks, but it was 45-mile-per-hour winds the round that I played. So it was sure. like if you had a little bit of a draw on your ball, if the wind was blowing that way, then it was a duck hook. So it was really hard to tell. And I played pretty well. I shot like 85 in those conditions. They don't normally let people play in those conditions. So I thought that was all right.
I'm pretty impressed. 85 and 40. I definitely would not be in the 80s and 45-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, it was beneficial on some of the par 5s. Like I got to it's 6, 6, and 6 at the cliffs, at Cabot Cliffs. So par 3, par 4, par 5, 6 each. And 4 of the par 5s were playing downwind, and I was over 2 of them in 2, like hitting 350 drives off the tee, which is not something that I normally do. But you just get the ball up into the air and it goes.
Yeah, I still don't hit driver. So I don't lose any balls, but I don't really. I can't birdie par 4s basically. I just can't, like I never have an 8-foot birdie putt on a 400-yard par 4. It's just too hard,
Well, I mean, I'm usually like 240 to 260 off the tee, and I can spray it a little bit, but I am pretty accurate. But just knowing that the wind is behind you, like teed the ball up and it was pretty firm.
Sure, and just send it.
Yeah, just send it. The wind will take it. And it was rolling. It's link style golf. So it's pretty flat once you hit the fairway. So if you hit it with like any degree of momentum, it's going to roll another fucking 50 yards. So there was a couple par 5s I was driver pitching wedge into and flew it over the green. I hit an 8-iron to 1. Wasn't even close. It was like 30 yards over the green. Like it's really hard to judge the wind when it's at your back and you're not off the tee of what you need to. Right. And I just don't play. I hit the ball fairly low to begin with, but not intentionally low. That if I could do that a little bit easier, it'd be nice. But anyway, I got rid of the yips, which was fantastic. And then the next morning, we went out for breakfast where Cusp ended up becoming a meme out of it with his new rivalry with this
phenomenal stuff from Cust. Really,
it took him 10 minutes to peel this orange, and we looked at him and was like, I think if it's taking you that long to peel the orange might not be ripe, man. And he was like, no. He was all pissed off doing it. Then he took a bite of it. It was the most sour thing. It would have been like the lemon tree that, these just delicious lemons and just making the face about it. But I went back, like I was driving. So I drove everyone back to like the places we were staying. We were going to walk down to the range and hit some balls before our round that day. And everything was fine. I took a shower, got changed, jumped into my car and like hop in my step. It's fun when you're away at a nice course.
For sure.
Hop into my seat, like a little bit of a jump. My ass hits the seat and there was like a lightning bolt that goes up my back. My entire right side of my back tensed and spasmed. And it was awful.
Man.
So as I found out, since I've been to my chiropractor, he's like, yeah, you have a spasm in your QL muscle. I was like, I don't even know what that is. He's basically like,
I don't even know what that is.
He's like, it's the one that holds up your back. So I went down to the range, like I couldn't turn. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to play. I've already paid $200 for this round, like no refunds on this one. I got a caddy waiting for me at the course. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go get some Robaxacet. I'm going to take some Advil and then rub some A535 and get one of those heating packs and throw it on my back. So I really struggled through this round on Friday. It was probably the most pain that I've ever played in. And by the end, like I couldn't even bend down to get my ball off.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you were not having fun.
No. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll have a beer and feel better. No, didn't happen.
No.
Then I had to drive home like 4 hours. So that was no fun either. But my chiro guy wasn't in till Monday, and this was on a Friday. So I had Saturday and I had Sunday, and just an excruciating pain. I was like, what can I do to alleviate some of this? So I like had a heating pad that didn't really work. I kept pumping myself full of muscle relaxers, which like made I felt like I was going to throw up every 2 minutes. So like, all right, I'll go get a massage from anywhere that's open. I'll go get a massage
anywhere.
Maybe they can work this out. So I went in, and I don't know if she's like the weekend masseuse. She's fucking terrible. And basically made it worse and didn't target any of the area. She's like, well, you know, when stuff like this happens, like it's always the muscles around. It's like, I can feel the muscle locked up.
Yeah,
in my back.
I can feel it.
Like the way that I tried to describe it is just like, it's like, if this is your back and like your hand is open for people that are just listening and they're not watching, it's like it made a fist, but the fist never became unclinched. So I tried that. And usually when I go to the chiropractor, you know, he does an adjustment or two on my hip or my spine or whatever. But mainly it's like dry needling and electronic acupuncture needles, like in the muscles that need to get going. Just, you know, in my hip, in my calf, when I tore my calf, there was a lot of dry needling, and then that to recirculate the blood flow. And I found that it works really well. I know some people don't like it. For me, it's been very successful. So I was like, I need someone to stick a pin into this to release this muscle. That's the only thing that I could think of that would work. And he wasn't in till, I think it was 6. I ended up going 6:30 p.m. on Monday evening. That was the first time that he had available. So I got my wife to search acupuncturists that are open on Sunday on Google. So I ended up at this.
I really can't imagine in your life the amount of people. Who is the acupuncturist open in like Manitoba on a Sunday?
I live in Nova Scotia, sir. Manitoba
it's the same. It's the same thing.
Well, actually, there's like over 1 million people in Winnipeg. There's not 1 million people here. There's only like, they just released a census that since COVID started, I guess I'm one of these stats, that over 70,000 people have moved to Halifax. That's an incredible amount of people.
No, I believe it. To me, that sounds idyllic. Like Halifax to me sounds perfect.
Well, it's not so great when, I mean, I'm a part of this root cause, so I can't really say anything, but the infrastructure is not set up for that amount of people.
Yeah, when a bunch of fucking yuppies come in and move in, like no, it's not good for anyone, really.
Oh yeah, housing prices went through the roof. No one can get a doctor anymore because there's just not enough. Yeah. They didn't plan for this many people to be here all of a sudden because the population had been on the decline for so long. But anyway, I ended up in this residential area, actually in the town where I'm from, and it was in like this old Chinese woman's basement. She had a table laid out. I've never been to like actual like Eastern medicine acupuncture before. Right. I was like, I assume it's like the same thing as I get at the chiropractor. No, not at all.
No.
I'm like, here's where it hurts. She's like, all right, lay on your back. I was like, why would I be laying on my back? I need the needles to go in my back because that's where it hurts in my back. She's like sticking needles in my thumb, in my foot, and just I laid there for an hour just fucking furious the entire time. And when I was done, she's like, "You feel better?" I was like, "No, I don't.
No,
like, nothing has happened. This is awful." Like,
your mind was not open to the experience.
Oh, I wanted it to work. I was in such pain. Like, does this work? Is this like a big scam? Like, what's going on with acupuncture?
What's going? I mean, that was full Jerry Seinfeld right there. I mean, you really sounded like Prime's. I mean, I've never done acupuncture. I would do it. I would be interested. I'm doing physical therapy right now, for shoulder impingement. It actually is helping my golf game a little bit, but that is, that's obviously much more Western medicine. The mind doesn't have to boggle to understand how that could work.
I can see that. I did a lot of physical therapy for my calf because I tore it twice within 2 years in 2 separate spots. Don't ever tear your soleus, as it turns out. It's a very big stabilization.
How did you just from like, because you run a lot, just like a lot of overuse?
It was during COVID, actually, when all the gyms were closed, because I normally run inside just because I like to throw on a music, watch TV, and like just basically think about anything other than running. Like, if that's all I'm doing, it's just like, all right, I'm just running. And running outside, most of the treadmills now, because for years I feel like people said that running on a treadmill is going to ruin your knees. Most of the treadmills now, like mine has great shocks on it. Like,
they're nice.
So I'm running on like city sidewalks, and I probably was not hydrating the best. I was probably drinking like 3 pots of coffee and then going for a run instead of drinking water. So I think my muscles just tensed up in this one part of my leg. So I tore my soleus, and then I ended up tearing like the big head at the very top like a year and a half later after running outside again. And I was like, I'm never running outside again. This is never happening. So I bought a treadmill, and so I just run here now. But just the physical therapy doing that, like it really did strengthen my leg. And when something gets torn, like I started having right hip problems because of it, because my hips were overcompensating when I wasn't able to put all the pressure on my leg. Just funny that all that stuff connects. Anyway, long story short, I ended up going in at 6:30 p.m. on Monday evening after recording all my shows. And I get down on the table. He's like, what's the problem? I was like, I threw my back out playing golf, but it wasn't playing golf. It was just randomly sitting down. He's like, yeah, get on your stomach. And he just starts like poking my back. He's like, does it hurt here? I was like, yeah. I was like, how about here? Like, yes, that hurts a lot. He's like, yeah, you have a QL spasm. I was like, what caused it? He's like, nothing really. It just happens. Sometimes your body locks up because your body's stupid in some ways. Like, it's a random occurrence. There's nothing you really did to do this. He's like, I bet you it's super painful. He like started laughing at me. The Pat Mayo Experience is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes you need to get something off your chest. Lord knows I do. And one of the biggest things that can cause is big stressors in our life. Whether they're big or they're small, bottling it all up can really start to affect us very negatively. And therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. And it's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries and really start to affect your life in a positive way. And it might even be some stuff that you're not even really thinking about that you can unlock and really start to improve your life for the better. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if you're not liking it. So, get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/PatMayo today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo.
I bet it is super painful. To me, I wonder if you were dehydrated. To me, if I'm dehydrated, my back will get tight very easily.
I was drinking most of the day before,
right?
And I normally don't drink when I play golf because I'm always driving afterwards. So I just like, yeah, screw it. Like I don't want to sit out here and like sip a beer for 18 holes and then drive home. You know, if I'm going to drink, I want to drink. And that's what I was doing the day before. I probably had like 8 beer on the course before we stumbled back to the bar and then went to our, like where we were staying that night on the property. So maybe that's what it was. I was just so exceptionally dehydrated that it ended up causing it. But I've had to go back twice now. My back's finally starting to feel all right. But in a roundabout way, it's the longest I've gone in 15 years with working out. It's really like my body doesn't know what to do. Like I feel like a jelly roll. I'm looking at myself like I've actually lost weight when I stepped on the scale before I left. Not working out has caused me to lose like 4 pounds.
Yeah, your muscles are atrophying.
Yeah, they're deteriorating,
and you're not as hungry either. So you're probably eating less protein, all that stuff.
Way less, because I've been tracking my macros for every meal and everything that I put in my body since January 1st. To get my diet back on track, because I was gaining weight and I didn't know where, and then I figured it out. I think we talked about that the last time that I was on. Yes. I was just eating too much margarine for reasons unknown. I didn't even like margarine, but I had been eating a bunch of margarine.
Why do you even have margarine in your house, dude? Because who buys the margarine?
My wife bought it. My son really liked it, and the one thing you learn when you have kids is that they don't you don't fight that. If they like something, so he wanted to have like toast with margarine on it. He didn't like butter, but he really liked margarine. It's like, fine, you have all the margarine and toast you want. Yeah. Just get it into you. This is great. And then he leave half a slice of toast around. I'd be like, oh yeah, toast, perfect. This is delicious.
Yeah.
So I just started consuming like 400 calories a day of margarine, not even noticing it and like where it came from. But when I started measuring everything out and keeping account of it, that's where it came through. But I usually like the baseline for me, I try to consume 1,500 calories a day, which I am now like for 132 for the year. Just I exercise too much. I need more calories than that. So I'm usually right
Wait,
around two.
you're trying to eat 1,500 calories in surplus per day?
No, total.
Total 15. That is not enough calories for
No,
a
it's
grown
not.
man.
Like, and my body can't do it. I've never actually got below 1,500 calories.
I'm on about, so obviously I indulged a little bit for Memorial Day, but I'm at about 1,800 calories a day, and I'm starving if I don't get leafy vegetables. If none of those meals come with some cruciferous vegetable, some green vegetable, I'm starving.
Why don't you just bring around athletic greens with you?
I don't I am pretty much down to trying. The only thing I eat that is not a whole unprocessed food is protein powder now.
Okay. Anyway, I usually average around like 2,300 calories a day, as it turns out, just because I was burning 700 to 1,200 a day just through
Yep.
exercise and getting in steps. But
Yeah.
it's just so weird. You're right. Like over the past week, I just haven't been eating all that much like what I normally do. I don't have the same appetite, but I can see how, because that was the one thing. Like when I started exercising, it's kind of like a snowball rolling down the hill. That once you start exercising, you kind of get addicted to the endorphins and exercising and getting your body in motion. That
Makes your whole day feel shitty if you don't do it.
if you don't do it, and once you do it, like you just like if you have, sometimes you'd wake up for like, even if you're hungover or something like that, and be like, yeah, I'll go jog on the treadmill for 20 minutes or something like that, like break a little bit of a sweat, and all of a sudden you just feel a whole lot better, even though that seems to be antithetical to what probably is actually going on in your body mentally. You feel so much better afterwards. But now that I've not been exercising, or especially lifting, like the physio guy recommended that I walk on the treadmill. He's like, yeah, you got to like do something to loosen your back. So like do these needles, get some walking, get some heat. Don't like do anything too strenuous, and like you should be fine. So I've been back on the treadmill, like walking 45 minutes a day. But I do find like my want to go lift, like I'm actually like dreading going back to doing it because I know I'm going to be weaker, even though it's just
going
been
to be weaker. Yeah.
Well, I haven't been lifting all that much anyway since golf season started, because golf becomes kind of my exercise. I try to throw in like 2 lift days a week rather than 5, kind of thing, like I do in the middle of winter when there's absolutely nothing to do. So I might as well just hit every different body part, like different region throughout the course of the winter. And then, it allows me to just kind of burn 1,000 calories playing golf every time that I go out and walk the course. But I'm kind of dreading going back. And I can see how people fall out of, like, when people get into their New Year's resolution, or someone is big and sedentary most of the time, or they don't even have to be big. They can just be sedentary, because, some people don't end up gaining a bunch of weight. They're like kind of skinny fat in that way. They just don't get any exercise. And then they start the exercise and they're really good for like a week or something like that. And same thing that goes with dieting, that you're really good for a week. But the moment that you stop, your body just gets you out of it so quickly. And I've always been doing it so often, like never go more than like 2 days without working out, kind of thing. Like even when I had COVID, I was still like walking around the neighborhood outside, that just I had to get like some movement in, or doing calisthenics or body weight exercises or something. But now that I was just kind of got out of it for like 5, 6, 7 days straight, my body doesn't want to go back to it. I can see how you can just check out immediately.
No, your body and your brain doesn't want to do it because you're like, I don't want to do hard work. Why would I want to do hard work? Like I can just stay on my couch and I can, I'll spend time with my kids, and I'll play video games, or I'll watch whatever, it's just, it is. I mean, it is so insidious. It's the everyone has something in their life where they choose the short-term satisfaction over the long-term thing, like whatever it might be. But exercise is the one where it's just the most obvious, because you like have to get up and go leave your house. You got to do hard work. And it's, you definitely, if you don't work out for a month or even a year, you don't see any like immediate negative downsides. You're like, what the fuck do I have to go work out for then?
You really think that if you didn't work out for a year, you wouldn't see any downside to that? I would gain 35 pounds.
I definitely would. Like me specifically, I put on weight so easy that I would, but the average person listening to this who maybe eats like, just like a more normal diet, they like just like whatever, they could definitely not work out for a year, and they would like feel, I mean, they would feel like shit in the way that most people feel like shit because they eat the standard American diet, so they're just very metabolically unhealthy. But that's just how people live. That's just how people are just used to that.
I suppose, but I think it would all depend on your exercise level before stopping exercising. Like if you were someone who
Yes.
walked 3 kilometers once a week, yeah, there'd be no real difference. But if you were working out 6 days a week for 10 years, then you just stop for a year, you would notice that.
Yeah, yes. So you'd notice it incrementally, but every day you didn't work out, it would become easier, you know? And then after 30 days of not working out, you'd be like, I don't know, it's just kind of my new normal, you know? Like I really I think that the human brain is that adaptable. Because you're gonna be replacing that whatever your workout thing is, you'll replace it with something else that gives you dopamine, you know, TV, something, just whatever the thing is, and that dopamine will be much easier to access than lifting weights.
TV, I could replace it with. I'm getting really back into procedurals.
Oh, what's your favorite procedural?
Right now, I rewatched House, which is great.
Okay, I like House. House is good.
I've been watching because I watched the BBC Sherlock. So I was like, oh, give Elementary a go.
Oh, that's my favorite procedural.
I like Johnny
think.
Lee Miller from Train Spotting. Like, he used to be married to Angelina Jolie. Let's check this out. I fucking love it, man. It's great. How old am I?
You are old, but the Sherlock, the Sherlock from the BBC with Benedict Cumberbatch is that is a must watch. If anyone out there has not seen it, I mean, that is very good stuff.
It is, but it's less digestible than the American version. And just the only reason that we ended up watching it, like I watch it with my wife. I can be on my phone when I'm watching it and answering emails. Like it's
the best.
It's a real passive experience. And we only have so much time at night now where like we're not sitting down and watching 5 Elementaries. Like if you start watching, I know people did it with Breaking Bad. And I think Lost is actually coming to Netflix in July. And I really missed out on an opportunity. I talked to Raza about it.
Lost.
That I wanted to do.
You know, that's like my favorite show.
I love Lost. Maybe me and you could do it. And like we have to really accelerate our timeline here because it's almost June. But I wanted to can an entire rewatch of Lost to release the same day that Lost got dropped on Netflix. And I think that would be an insta smash for a successful podcast.
I mean, look, I can't say with 100% certainty that I can watch 6 seasons of Lost in like the next 3 weeks. In fact, I'll probably tell you I can't, but I am down to do something for that. Either, you know, our favorite episode, favorite moment, favorite line, what we could do. We could do a 2-hour show on Lost, I think. And I'm very into that. My forearm tattoos are from Lost.
Oh, so you just really like that terrible episode where Jack went to Thailand and got those tattoos?
No, I don't have those. It's the season 3 finale. Live together, die alone. That's the one that I have.
I always just that's the same as the Not Penny's boat, right?
Yes. So Not Penny's boat, I've actually seen people get that before. I mean, I wouldn't want them on my hands, but I do like that. I mean, that's, to me, the Not Penny's boat. That might be the peak television moment for me. Of all television I've ever watched, that might be the moment.
Well, I mean, I guess if people are listening to this, I don't want to spoil Lost for them. Through that context, then obviously they're not going to know it. But I mean, I have different. We'll do an entire Lost thing. Yeah, I mean, we'll try to find one other person to do it. But the whole point was like when my wife and I watched Lost. I think we watched it before, like she had never seen it. So I was like, yeah, I'll rewatch Lost. This is great. I don't need an excuse to go back. And like the longer I can put off watching the final season, the better, kind of thing. But
sure,
you get hooked into those episodes. Like you watch one, it's like, well, let's watch another. It's the same model that Breaking Bad had. Like Breaking Bad owes so much to Lost in terms of the way that episodes are structured, although the shows have nothing to do with each other. But every Lost episode ends on a, oh my God, I need to see the next episode. And every Breaking Bad episode for the final 2 seasons ends exactly the same way.
Yes. Yeah. No, like that's actually, so I rewatched Breaking Bad during COVID, and I remember having the same feeling where it's like, even though I knew what happened, you know, even though I know what happens in the end of Breaking Bad, and I know what happens in the end of Lost too, but even rewatching Lost again, same exact emotion. You know what? I think I've told you this before. My favorite procedural, and I'm not even saying it's good, very clear difference between something that is good and something that is your favorite, it's Grey's Anatomy, and it's not even close for me. Like you give me a lazy Sunday where it's cold and shitty outside and I got nothing going on. I'll knock out a season of Grey's Anatomy with my wife. No problem.
I don't know if I've ever seen a single second of Grey's Anatomy.
I mean, I'm not even telling you that you should watch it. This is not like a recommendation of like, oh my God, Pat, this show is amazing. It's just it is such good. I feel the same way about Grey's Anatomy that I feel about like 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 Oreos. Like I know it's not good for me and I wouldn't tell you to eat it, but if you leave me unattended with a thing of Oreos, I'm fucking scarfing the Oreos down. Same exact thing.
I used to watch CSI and CSI Miami in a very similar vein, although I think those are probably
Same shit.
better shows.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched an episode of CSI. Not because I'm judging it or I just has not come across my desk.
You've never seen the Tarantino episodes of CSI?
No, but I would. I mean, I'm a big Tarantino guy. What do I need to know CSI lore to be into them?
No, that's the whole part of CSI. That he just directs this like 2-part episode. It's awesome.
Okay, yeah, I bet I can put that on. That can be some nighttime viewing tonight.
But in terms of Lost, I think I hold such a different view of it because people like, what is your favorite season of Lost? Spoiler free.
I mean, I think it probably is the first season where it's like they don't have character stuff figured out and like but it's all such a mystery, and there's nothing disappointing yet. It's just all forward looking and it's I mean, I would maybe have to think about it a little bit more, but that was my gut instinct was the first season.
Yeah, well, it seems so fresh and so new when it was on as well. Like
Yes.
here's this
Yeah.
like the pilot to Lost is amazing. It's an amazing J.J. Abrams
It
movie.
is. Yeah.
Which is
It
crazy
is.
to think about. I love season 5 of Lost when like they really lean into science fiction.
The sideways. Yeah.
No,
it
the
was
sideways
very
is
good.
season 6, which I didn't like. I like the one where it's just like, here's Sawyer and he's in the Dharma Initiative. It's like, okay, sign me up for this.
Okay, I'm getting confused then. But yeah, the whole Dharma Initiative stuff I enjoyed as well. Season 3 when they start to bring in the others, but then some of the others they had to write off the show for like interpersonal reasons that like kind of messed up some of their storytelling, I remember.
Yeah, the writer's strike happened midway through season 3 too, but it was like going off the rails in season 3. And then when they came back with 4 episodes. Basically, they made a deal with ABC, be like, hey, we're going to do 40 more episodes. We're going to finish season 3. Then there'll be 3 more seasons. So the final 3 seasons really feel like modern seasons of TV because I think they're only 13 episodes each or something. And the first 2 seasons are like 26 or something like that. I mean, there's some real filler episodes in there. It's like Hurley finds a van. Jack goes to Thailand.
So I love the van episode. That was just like such a good, they were hitting golf balls out in the big pasture. Like those are some of the memories where I'm like, oh yeah, I mean it's just a nice little slice of life. I liked that.
So anyway, I like the time travel stuff. That was basically when Desmond ends up on the show. Not that I like Desmond at all, but like from the moment he shows up is when I think
Desmond and Faraday. Yeah. Oh man, I just like it all. It's just such a good show to me. Probably my favorite show ever. Yeah.
What is my favorite? I mean, I rewatched Mad Men recently. Mad Men's like it's forgotten about how good it is. Like because people will have
why is that? Why is Mad Men forgotten? Because it shouldn't be.
I mean, it's no different than like why are great books forgotten? Because people don't read them. People don't like to sit. There's this sense out there because it and Breaking Bad were both on at the same time, and Breaking Bad is clearly the more fun show to watch. I mean, I much prefer
guns and explosions.
Yeah, and let's eat the cliffhanger endings. It's a fantastic show. I'm not here to like down talk Breaking Bad. I just happen to think the Mad Men is way better than Breaking Bad. But I don't know. It's
Mad Men's a more serious show, slow burn. Yeah.
See, it's not even that much. Like Breaking Bad, I think is more serious. Like Mad Men is fucking hilarious. It's just sad sometimes.
I will say the character of Pete so depressing to me. Just so every minute that guy is on the screen, I just feel bad knowing that guys like that exist. You
Do you,
know,
do you feel
it's
like you're turning into Pete Campbell?
no, I don't relate to him. I don't relate to him at all. I mean, maybe I guess I haven't watched it in 5 years, so maybe I would now that I'm in my 30s. But yeah, and Don's very sad too. You know, Don is a very tragic. You know, no one knows Don. Don goes through life completely alone, um, which is that's I mean that's very sad too.
Yeah, it can be a very sad show. It can be a very funny show, but I like the pacing of it. I like the length of the seasons. It's one of the best acted shows I've ever seen. The way that people talk about The Sopranos is kind of how I feel about Mad Men, because I don't love The Sopranos, which is a very, I mean, it's not even a hot take. It's just a, I mean, most people
Just
say
a
it's a
take.
wrong take. It just, it, again, I'm not saying The Sopranos is a bad show. I just don't like gangster stuff. So it never really resonated with me.
How is that even possible that you don't like gangster stuff? What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What
Like
do you mean
I've
you
always
don't
like,
like
I
gangster
think it's because
stuff?
I tried to watch, like everyone's, oh my God, you got to see The Godfather and The Godfather 2. And then I tried to watch them when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was like, this is the most boring shit I've ever seen in my life. But I love Goodfellas,
Dude.
so it's weird.
Do you like Casino?
Eh.
I mean, how can you like Goodfellas and not like Casino? It's basically the same
Because
movie.
Casino is a derivative of, it's the worst version of Goodfellas.
Wait, so who directed Casino?
Martin Scorsese.
Okay, and Coppola did Goodfellas?
No, Martin Scorsese did Goodfellas.
Yeah, so it's the same movie.
I know, but
that's
it's
why I was
worse.
confused. I mean, to me, it's like I don't know. Am I gonna complain about getting the strip steak even though I had the filet yesterday? Probably not.
Yeah, you probably would.
Me, no chance, no chance.
I would.
Something you need to know about me. If I like something, I will pound it into the ground and never change my mind. I recently, you're not even gonna believe this. I recently have been watching season 35 episodes of The Simpsons.
How is
Because I
that?
don't, it's not as bad as you think. It's really not. I mean, it's not, it doesn't give you the same feeling that you get from watching, Last Exit to Springfield or whatever. But when I like something, and I really don't vary. And so, like, if Casino hitting the exact same beats as Goodfellas, sure, it's not as good. But it's still pretty fucking good.
I've really rediscovered wrestling without ever watching wrestling. So like the entire
That's
re-
really interesting.
wrestling podcast universe I've like dove headfirst into. There's a bunch of like decent A&E documentaries. I found out the guy that does Dark Side of the Ring lives like 10 minutes from me. I'm actually going to meet up with him sometime in the next 3 weeks. And
Okay.
if that's a series that I've like kind of kicked it back off, I'll be like, hey, I remember all these people from the 90s. Oh my God, these are such tragic stories about what happened to them. That just my fascination with 80s and early 90s to mid 90s wrestling, even into the Attitude Era when I was the biggest fan. And then just, it's weird. I think it happens to everyone with wrestling. And if it doesn't, like, I don't know what that says about you, but just, it's something you really like. And then it gets cut out of your life and you never think about it again.
I have never watched, I don't think, a minute of wrestling, to be honest.
Well, that would be probably why you would never be into it. But it's
But
a very
it seems
alluring thing
cool.
as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know why. I don't really have an explanation for why I never watched it as a kid.
Anyway,
I don't know.
I find that the content around it's pretty good.
But I do. So for me, that same thing would be like history podcast where I just get so into it. Like whatever history thing is going on, and it's just like all I want to think about for that time period. I mean, I'll go through phases with that stuff. Do you do that where you go through phases? Like right now it's wrestling and then next it'll be kabuki theater or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be kabuki theater. I went through the true crime phase just like everyone did at some points. Then I had to give up on that because they all ended up being exactly the same. Like once you listen to Serial and then you listen to like the next 10, it's like, okay, I get where this is going.
Yeah. Yeah. True crime doesn't so much do it for me.
I like the one that you recommended to me, which weirdly enough is
Small town dicks.
no, I don't know what that is. That sounds hilarious. The one, the guy who stole all the Bitcoin, who is from, weirdly enough, like 10 minutes away from me here too.
Shit, my friend Aaron Lambert did this one. I can't remember the name of it. Damn. My apologies. But the Quadriga hack. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very good. Very good stuff.
And it turned out he was Cuss' neighbor, which is really funny.
I mean, that is pretty. I did not know that. That is pretty funny. What's your verdict on Quadriga guy? Dead, alive, gone? What?
Probably living on a yacht in the Indian Ocean.
Nah, I think I ultimately in the end decided he died and he was just an idiot. Like he was a criminal and he was a criminal who just got bad luck at the wrong time. I think.
Maybe. Either way, it's a very fun story.
It is. It is a fun
Exit Scam, was that the name of it?
Exit Scam. Gerald Cotton. There is also a documentary on Netflix about it. Although the documentary is not as good as Aaron's podcast. I don't think. I think Aaron's podcast is better.
There is a new wrestling doc coming out. It's about the end of WCW, which I'm actually quite interested in because I loved the end of WCW because it was batshit crazy.
I don't even WC. I literally don't even know these acronyms.
Well,
WCW.
The WCW was the other wrestling promotion to the WWF in the late 90s, which then got. Do you know what the NWO is?
New World Order.
Yeah, you've seen the NWO shirts.
I've seen the shirts.
Yeah, that's WCW.
Okay. The shirts are cool. That's coming back. The vintage wrestling shirts are like just really everything from the 90s is coming back now. It is cool.
Better go check out my old bedroom at my grandma's house. See if those shirts still fit.
I bet I mean, unironically, I bet you could sell some of the crap you've got at your grandma's on eBay for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I don't want to sell it. I just want to wear it again. Like you don't need to like twist my arm to wear my Austin 316 shirt.
Yeah, an Austin 316 shirt would be big right now. NASCAR jackets are back. Like a NASCAR jacket with like patches and advertisements and shit all over it. Those are back.
When were those ever in? Sorry, I'm not from the middle of nowhere in America.
Maybe they're not back, but they're in. I just felt like the two things were related.
Like in for people who fuck their cousins?
No, in for like people who comment on Drake's Instagram, like those type of people.
I mean, I have that is not a part of my world. I saw that
it's very much not.
I saw that there was some sort of beef between Drake and I think it was Kendrick Lamar. I think might have been someone else.
Nailed it. You nailed it.
Is that what it was? I have no idea what it's about, why it's a thing, and why anyone cares. That's how old I am now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're really old. You're pushing, you're touching the grave right now. Yeah, but no, that was it. Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. There were some good songs. It was fun. Not that I was super wrapped up in the minutia of it, but I do really like Kendrick Lamar. So I'm still young enough to occasionally listen to new music, not very often, and definitely not new music by someone I don't know. Only new music by people I've already known for a decade. Like you're definitely not catching me listening to a new record from someone I don't know.
I assume I'll get somewhat roped back into new music once my kids become old enough to care about new music. Then I'll be at least aware of who these people are.
I mean, that feels like the way that it normally.
But
happens.
music could be so fractured in this moment that like, I mean, obviously there's going to be like new artists that emerge that are like huge kind of thing. But from what I can tell, all the biggest music artists in the world are exactly the same as they were 20 years ago. Like U2 is still one of the biggest bands. They must be 80.
U2. Yes. No, you are so right about that. I mean, things are too fractured now for even like the biggest person amongst 20-year-olds to do like a world headlining tour.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, they have this song on Spotify that I've streamed. I will listen to nothing they ever do again, but I like this one song.
Correct. Yeah. So, which is why, I mean, it's still kind of impressive that Taylor Swift is only, 34, 35, and she's the biggest artist in the world. Like, that's kind of impressive to not be, of the Eagles' age and to be that popular.
But she's been performing since she was, 13, 14? Like, she's been around for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think her first album came out in 2008. I think that sounds right.
All right, so
which is still,
15,
I mean, that's still
years.
like, if you think about it, that's still post like YouTube. Like her first album came out after YouTube.
Sure,
right?
But music wasn't like people were still using LimeWire then to pirate songs. It's not like Spotify was around.
Spotify was not around, Apple Music was not around, but I mean, come on, it's very clearly she's of a different generation than you two.
Oh yeah, but like she's in a different generation than like that late '90s pop, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Backstreet Boys, like that.
Yeah,
whole
she's
thing. But she's pretty close to like the
that.
Killers.
She's probably the same generation, yeah, as maybe like 5 years younger than them, if I had to think about it.
So like around that sort of mid-aughts time frame. And even YouTube was still a boost at that time. Like even when YouTube first came along, like you would drop a video, like MTV was gone, you'd drop a video on YouTube and be like, that would be the thing to go look at on YouTube. Movie trailers used to work exactly the same way. I remember having to go to log in when I was in college to the Apple website to see the new trailers that were coming out because they were all isolated in this one place on like apple.trailers.com. And then YouTube came around and be like, oh shit, there's a new trailer dropping on YouTube. Let's go check it out. People didn't spend days on YouTube like they do now.
No, YouTube was not for appointment. You didn't go there every day. You stopped in.
Yeah, you'd smoke a joint and be like, hey, see this funny video that you watched for 45 seconds?
Yeah, it wasn't like the most important stuff happening in entertainment happening every single day.
And that's not even the case anymore. Do you have the amount of people that send me reels? People I don't even know send me reels on like Instagram.
Yeah, I had to delete Instagram off my phone. I can't have the app or I get sucked into the short videos.
So Cust is he's got sucked into the TikTok world where he just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. He's been watching this thing where they roll glass bottles downstairs to see how long it breaks. That's what the algorithm is feeding him. So he's really into that these days. I have the TikTok app. I maybe open it once every 3 months just because I forget that I have it. And even with Instagram, it's the same as Facebook. Like, I just don't go on these things. I usually still use Twitter. I tried to use Threads for a little bit. Threads is awful, man. And like they've come out with like, oh, more people are using Threads than they are Twitters. Like that is absolutely not true.
There's no chance that's true.
They might have more active users because if you have an Instagram account, you technically have a Threads account, and maybe that's what they're using. Or if you have a Facebook account, you have a Threads account. But it's like really bad Twitter. And you don't see as much like craziness on Threads, but it's just the most pretentious shit I've ever heard. I've never been on Bluesky or Blue Sky, whatever that is, but that sounds like it would be the worst place on earth. Like at least give me the hellscape where we're all involved. That is Twitter. I couldn't imagine like the socialist nightmare Blue Sky is.
No, yeah. Blue Sky and Threads are just like even more lib Twitter. I think.
Here's the fun thing about like super libs. They're not quite as entertaining or as insightful as they might think. It's like the fart-smelling episode of South Park.
Yeah, they're just humorless. Super libs are very famously humorless.
It's no fun.
Okay, yeah. What can you do with that? I don't want to be on social media with a bunch of people who are humorless.
Yeah,
and I also don't really want to be on Instagram an hour a day.
Well, just to throw it out, like Instagram, like 15 years ago would have been fire when everyone I knew was like still, going out in bikinis all the time. That would have been awesome. Like your age is probably still great. Everyone I know is almost 40 now. It's just pictures of everyone's kids. It's basically Facebook.
Yeah. I'm getting to that age, but even still, it's not anything I want. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I leave the experience of being on Instagram being like, what just happened to my brain for an hour?
All Instagram does is feed me videos about golf and like how I can chip better. And I have to not watch these videos because then that gets in my head. Workout videos, like 4-set workouts for like, here's a great chest exercise. Because I was typing in workouts, I like dumbbell workouts I can do from home. Because I have a bench here, I have a dumbbell set here. And if I don't feel like going to the gym, like what are like a circuit of 5 chest exercises I can do. That's not the same thing every single time. So it just feeds me this stuff over and over, which I actually don't mind because I am actively seeking some of this stuff out. And there was another one. Oh yeah. Stretching and back exercises. After putting it like, what the fuck is wrong with my back? Just
see, that's how they get you though, is they give you a little bit of what you like and a little bit of helpful, good shit. And then you end up getting 25% stuff you're really into, 25% stuff you're like, oh, whatever. And then 50% just like utter garbage. and your brain just gets addicted to sifting through it.
Yeah, but
Maybe yours doesn't.
I get fed up with it and just close it.
Well, I apparently don't have the fed up gene, so I can't engage at
But
all.
I will sit there on
be more
Twitter and read
intentional.
people's like moronic tweets over and over, like this one from Davis
Yes.
Mattek about, oh, here's my super Dallas Cowboys onslaught. It's like, yeah, it's fucking great, man. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Who needs it? Who needs it? You don't need it. I don't need it. None of us need it. But we're just plugged the fuck in to that matrix. You can't log out of it.
So are we gonna start the show anytime soon? Did you have topics?
No, I didn't really have anything. This new Mad Max movie, you gonna see it? Furiosa?
I'll probably wait till I can watch it at home. Although I shouldn't. It seems like a movie I should see.
Seems like a movie you should see in theaters.
I did that with Oppenheimer, and I really regret it. I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it at home. And
No,
I know that I should watch Nolan movies in IMAX just to get the full experience. And I liked it at home. And it probably just would have been so much better. Like, I went out of my way to go see Dune 2 in theaters. I think it's the only time I've
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you like Dune 2?
Yeah, I like Dune 1 better. And it's funny because I didn't realize that Dune was going to be a 3-part movie series. When I walked into the first one, I didn't realize that it wasn't just a movie. I didn't realize there was going to be a part 2.
Oh, sure.
So
you're
waiting, I was like,
you're waiting for the jihad. Yeah.
I was like, what's going on here? And then I watched number 2, and I just assume it's a 2-part movie that we're going to get everything wrapped up. I'm like, no, we're going on to the third movie. What the fuck is this? Just, please let me know when this is. How many movies? I don't even know if it's going to be 3 movies. It could be 5 movies for all I know.
Well, it should be like 10 movies, but they're not gonna do that.
Well, you could just watch the David Lynch version from the 80s, which is crazy and is like 2 hours long as the entire story.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is the books are wild. The people who have only seen the movies, I mean, it is a wild ass series of books. I'm very curious how they do this third movie, which is supposed to be the entirety of the second book, because there's crazy stuff going on that I don't know how you put on a screen.
I don't feel like the new movies have properly articulated how spice is basically like being on LSD.
Definitely not. If you didn't read the books, you would not really get that.
I felt like I got more of the vibe from the David Lynch movie about that, because that feels like it'd be very important to David Lynch that you know.
I've never seen the David Lynch one.
So bad. So bad.
Yeah.
It's so
That's what
watchable,
everyone
but
says.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
I will say the scene with Austin Butler when they go to like the Harkonnen planet is fucking cool. It's cool. It's
great.
awesome.
That was great. I liked what they did explaining how the Harkonnens cannot know how many Fremen there are by like basically separating the planet into 2 hemispheres. I thought that was interesting relative to the way they do it in the book. But really, it's just such an intricate fucking book. You can't do it all in 2 hours. You know, it's just there's too much going on.
Yeah, you kind of got to pick your lane in the story that you want to tell.
And it's a good lane. I mean, it's a good lane. I thought it was a really good movie. Like I think he did a very good job filming something that people said like would never be a good movie.
It did have to wait for the technology. Like that's the funniest part about the old Dune is like the computer graphics just aren't there for what they need. And like when they have their like, I don't know what it is, their like force fields around themselves, like when they're doing hand-to-hand combat, there's these like digital screens around Sir Patrick Stewart. It's so fucked. It's so funny to watch.
Oh, have you watched Fallout?
No.
Okay, that even if you've never played a video game in your life, that's the best show I've watched this year.
Really?
Bar none. Yes. 10 out of 10. It's so good.
Is it like a apocalypse movie?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Show. One season, 8 episodes.
I didn't get into that other one, The Last of Us. I tried watching that. I was like, not my vibe.
Same thing, based off a video game, this new one, but a better video game and a better TV show.
All right.
And I like The Last of Us, but Fallout is better.
So I want to start doing some football content. What should I be doing, do you think? What's out there for me to do? Because I don't want to become... Listen, I don't want to be a disingenuous best ball guy. I do want to learn about all of the teams like I always do, but it's not like, oh, let's have... I mean, if I had you on to do drafts, I'm basically just doing Pete's show, but worse. And I don't want to do that because, that's A, Pete's lane, and B, he's better at it than I am. And he's fully engaged in it. But I'd like to know different ways of what can I do? I have access to a lot of people, a lot of smart people. What's a lane that I can pick here for off-season football stuff? Because this is going to be a Thursday show for me. Thursday shows, Thursday, Friday have been very difficult for me to fill out during golf season. Only because people just want golf. Like that's the mode that they're in all the time for people watching my show. Then that will transition back over to football. Like, what can I do later in the week? I'm talking to Bales tomorrow about potential ideas of different guests that I could have on, just like to learn more about. I don't know. He knows a lot of like just weird and smart people that maybe picking his brain for people be like, hey, here's what's going on in technology right now. I'd like to start doing some more of this style of show, but with people maybe I don't know who have a certain expertise in something. But I'd like to figure out how to do that for football too. Like, do I say, hey, here's the preview for the AFC East. Let's go over all the teams. Like, is that fun enough?
I was thinking like that's I think what people might like right now, like in May and June, is team preview type stuff. Is like, like I'm waking up. I am subscribed to the PME. I might want to be drafting some best ball teams, but I don't know who the fuck Xavier Worthy is. Who's on the Jets this year?
Tariq Cohen is.
Tariq Cohen is as of May 29th on the Jets. Sure. Why not? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he be? Yeah, I think divisional preview type stuff with like a rotating cast of guests would probably be good, but you should maybe a little bit more formatted than you normally do, which I know you don't like to do, but like with like very specific, like biggest fantasy takeaway in this division, biggest fantasy loser, like type shit. I don't know. That was my first thought though.
Do people want to hear that from me though? Or would they
No,
want to
they
hear
definitely,
it?
no, they don't want to hear it from you. They definitely want to hear it from, whatever guest you have on.
I'll call Leone. And I mean, this might be a good way too to branch out a little bit because I have very few avenues these days of getting new people onto the show. And listen to this, my 4,000th show is coming up soon. It's a lot of shows.
It's a lot of shows.
And I started to think, like, what do I do for like a celebration for the 4,000th show of the Pat Mayo Experience, formerly the Pat Mayo Hour, formerly the Pat Mayo Experience. It's changed name a few times over the past 15, 14 years or so. But all the people that I generally have on, like from the beginning, I still have on right now. Like I've picked up people over the years. I've lost people over the years. Can anyone find that what was the one guy, David Frey, who I think like ripped people off on the internet through some scam? That guy, No Chalk DFS, who went to jail. We can get him back on.
Oh my God, No Chalk DFS.
I think that was his name.
Yes. There was the XFL was involved.
I think it was the Arena League.
This guy's still tweeting. This guy tweeted on February 26th, No Chalk DFS.
There we go. Maybe he's listening right now. Get him on the show.
Maybe he'll come back, dude.
Like I used to have that guy on all the time. I used to have Bergerson on all the time. And that was just for golf. I used to have people for football on all the time. But like, then I started randomly doing a show on FanVice with Raza. And then like Raza became my favorite guy to talk to. So I just have him on the show all the time. When me and like, it's not like from the beginning, you and I were doing things. We eventually got paired up somehow. Like, hey, this is a fun show. Let's keep doing this. And we've been doing pods together for what, 8 years?
Shit. 10 probably. I bet it's longer than 8 years.
So doing that format for football, I think could work out really well because I think it could, like, I need to have some new life into the show, and maybe I'll stumble upon someone that I just really vibe with really well. And then that person, we can do shows together even more and create better content that way. But I feel like I've pigeonholed myself a lot of the time that I just use the same people over and over, which I like. It's easier for me. Obviously, the fans really like it because those are the shows that they end up tuning into. But I feel like I am leaving better content out there. It might lead to some worse content in the short term because
that's always the fear, right? It's like, oh, do I bring on this person who I don't really know that much? Could be bad. Got to post it anyways. Got to feed the content. It's kind of tough.
But I think those are the right shows to try that out with, where they kind of sell themselves. Like, hey, do you want to know do you know any of the names of the receivers on the Buffalo Bills? Tune into this show.
Big Khalil Shakir guy, big KJ Hamler guy.
Oh my God. You're back
I think
fucking KJ Hamler.
No, not me. The Bills are dead to me.
No, you got the best rookie of the offseason, Coleman.
Oh, yeah, I think he stinks probably.
Yeah, I'm
Sadly.
sure you do. All the big nerds seem to think he sucks, and like everyone in real life thinks he's awesome.
He just was never good in college. He just
Right?
never did anything. It's hard. The game done shifted away from it used to be you'd be 6'2", 220, and that's all you needed. It's sad. They ruined my beautiful game. Now every good NFL wide receiver looks like Garrett Wilson. I don't like it. I preferred when the ideal NFL body type was like Alshon Jeffrey. Remember Alshon Jeffrey?
I
Great
mean,
wide receiver.
yes, I do remember. Like he's been out of the league like 2 years. Yes, I remember him.
I think you just belied your age. I bet. Let's see. How long do we think Alshon Jeffrey's actually been out of the NFL?
Well, who did he last play for? When he left the Eagles, he went somewhere else, didn't he?
No, last played for the Eagles.
And probably 2021 COVID season.
2020, he caught one touchdown for the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, so he's been out of the league 4 years.
It's a long time.
He caught 2 touchdowns at the Super Bowl that I was at.
Did he really? God, what year was that? The Foles year?
Yeah, 2017. Or I guess 2018.
Unbelievable. You got any inside info? What is this marathon tournament that Underdog is tweeting about?
I don't know.
No inside info. Well,
No, it's funny how the company is. I mean, I'm treated very well. I don't want to say that I'm not. They really just leave me like, hey, Pat, go. Here's what we would like you to promote because you
it's
are
all
interested in
partitioned.
it. Go promote that. Don't
Yeah.
try to figure out this other stuff that we know that you have no interest in. Maybe you will hear about it and be like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that. But they know not to be like, here are the talking points that you need to hit. That's just not what I'm up to.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I mean, look, yeah, you keep people in their lane. Who I just I remembered another guy we're talking about guests of years past, NYC punter. People hated that guy.
They really did. And I assume you were
NYC
best friends
punter
with him because he got big into NFTs.
No, I don't think he was a big into Bitcoin, but I never really interacted with him. Man, the NFT thing. What a fucking slice of time that was.
I feel like it's coming back around now, or is it like shit coins that everyone's into?
Yeah, everyone's into now what everyone does is they buy a bunch of basically meme tokens on not even Ethereum anymore, on something called Solana, and then they hope that number goes up and then they sell it. Which I guess I prefer more because with NFTs we thought, oh, this really might revolutionize fucking society, but no one pretends that with the shit coins. No one.
When you say we, now you remember you and I having conversations about NFTs, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was totally for like 6 months. I was a total true believer. I really. I mean, I'm still like at the very base level. I'm still very interested in the idea of digital provenance, but the issue is Ethereum just doesn't work. It's not a functioning. Everything costs too much. It's too slow. You can't really do anything on it. And that problem has not been solved at scale at all.
I always liked NYC punter Russ. I don't think Twitter was the right platform for him. I think he took stuff very personally.
Yeah, I think if you're over the age of 40, it's just a tough place to make your hay, per se.
Yeah. And he was a casual user, just someone who enjoyed golf.
Really can't just but you can't just be casually betting on golf on Twitter. People are just mean anyway. Like, it's just in general, people are mean, but they're really mean on Twitter.
I mean, I get away with casually betting on golf.
Yeah, you are. I mean, look, you. I mean, the biggest thing you ever did was you just got in at the right time. You just got in so early.
Got to be in the right place, right time. It's like Homer at the nuclear plant. He just showed up the day it opened.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, same for me too. Like, if I were to have to restart my career right now, like come into the world again as an 18-year-old, no chance I'd be able to do this for a living.
Well, I've been thinking, like, what do I do after this? Like, what should I be setting myself up to do right now? I think I've had this conversation a few times, maybe not on the show as much, but I have many different streams of income coming in, but they're all kind of tied to the show and the production company. I've battered around a few ideas of what can I do in media outside of just doing the show and trying to get it out there. But what's something you would do if you weren't doing sports and you weren't doing media? what's an avenue you think you would take? Like, I'm not rich, but I have money. I can invest in a new business. Like, should I be trying to do something?
I mean, I don't give that's like I have no fucking idea. I got no clue. I not only do I not know what you should do, I mean, I don't know what I would do. Like I got no clue. If this was all if I was rug pulled tomorrow, I don't know. I'm not qualified to do anything else, really.
I feel like I could sell things.
That's so that me too. It's like that's would be the obvious thing is I'd be a salesman of something.
I don't know if I'd like that. Although that's technically my job anyway. Play on Underdog, code Mayo.
Yeah,
BetterHelp.com.
it's not any different, but it doesn't feel as good because the interstitial thing is what we like. You know, the interstitial of the talking about golf, talking about football. But then when you're in sales, there is no interstitial.
But
It's all,
but that's all sales is. It's like going to the golf course and like playing with someone and selling them something for 4 hours.
I mean, honestly, I literally don't even know. I couldn't even begin to imagine what the life of like a B2B, you know, Lockheed Martin, maybe be a Lockheed Martin salesman. That'd be an easy job. That'd be really easy.
Have you got your dad anything for Father's Day yet?
No, I don't think I've ever gotten my dad something for Father's Day, to be honest.
Well, you can make it easy on yourself. OmahaSteaks.com, code Mayo. Get yourself a 10% discount. You know what, Davis? You can do it as we're speaking right now if you really wanted to. You don't have to get your lazy ass off the chair. Do it from your phone right now. Send it to your dad's address. Boom, it shows up. Do you think he's going to scoff at a nice box of meat coming to his house? Please. And that's sales.
You know, that's funny. I have ordered Omaha Steaks before, but just for myself.
The code still applies. You don't need to. You can send it to yourself and use code Mayo if you really wanted to.
Wouldn't you feel bad though? Wouldn't you feel bad?
No, I mean they send it to me for free because I'm a huckster, and then I get all the free samples of the stuff. Pretty good. I like it. Nothing like box of.
It is pretty good.
Nothing like a box of meat.
Yeah, nothing like a box. I mean, just knowing, like, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm gonna have a nice, perfectly charred, medium steak today. Amazing.
Medium. Kind of fucking communist are you?
Oh, come on.
Well, I'm sorry, in Soviet Russia, you cannot. Everything needs to be very rubbery.
I can do a medium rare if the steak is really, really good. Like if it's like if I'm going to like I went to Gibson's in Chicago the other day and I got a medium rare because I'm like, it's gonna be a really good steak. It's gonna be as good as it gets. But I don't know, like if don't know if this is gonna be the best cut of meat in the world. Sometimes I just want a medium.
I think you end up eating medium more when you cook steak yourself, especially if it isn't either a thick cut or a great part of meat, just because it's harder to cook it medium rare. Like I'll end up siding on the side of rare over medium when I cook it at home. But like, I'm like every other millennial there is going. Sometimes I just like get on my phone for a second, forget that I have steak on the barbecue, and it's like, oh fuck, I left it on too long.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I don't love when the center is too mushy. Like if it hasn't hardened at all from getting to medium rare, then I'm just not that into it.
Well, someday you'll be a man and that won't be a problem for you.
Like I'll eat it but that's the difference between like I don't know, a $20 steak from the butcher versus an $80 steak at a steakhouse. It's like
no. I highly disagree about that. I mean, if you go to the butcher and get yourself like a $20 to $40 steak, like that's the equivalent of like a $160 steak at a restaurant. Like they're upselling you, Davis. It's just like when I go and order my favorite bottle of wine at a restaurant that I buy for $50 at the liquor store, who are already upcharging me, and they're charging me $150 at the restaurant.
No, of course I understand that, but they also have like better tools. It's seasoned perfectly, like all of that. Like, yeah,
their ability to cook it is much better than yours, but the cut of meat itself probably isn't all that different.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying. I'm saying if I made myself a true medium rare, it's probably 60-40 how often I'm like really going to get to the center of it and be like, I wish I would have kept that on.
Well, it all depends on. Like I'm lazy that I'll go and barbecue it most of the time. And frankly, barbecued steaks are, You need to be pretty good at it. I mean, I've never used a smoker, but I don't know if you cook steaks in those. Like if I want to make sure that my steak turns out perfectly at home, like it's a long process. Like I'll sous vide it for over an hour, and then you can get it to exactly the medium rare that you want to get it to.
If I did sous vide, I would do medium rare every time because it would be exactly what I'd want.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hard. And just even most people's grills, like there's hot spots on people's grills because people are lazy like myself and don't, scrape it off.
Yeah, my grill stinks.
Yeah, my grill's nice, but just I didn't take care of it enough that it's a bit hotter on some parts, or it doesn't filter out the same way. So one part of the steak gets cooked a little bit more than the other. Like, that is not what you want. That's what sous videing takes out of the entire process.
Correct. All of that is a long way to say I like a medium every once in a while.
Probably medium 50/50. Steak for a medium man.
Smallest man who ever lived. You don't even get that reference because you're not a Swiftie.
I'm not. No, it's true. I got one last thing. You want to hear the bougiest thing that I've been up to lately?
This is more bougie than having a chiropractor on call that you go see for your QL spasm.
I mean, he's my chiropractor. He's not. If he was on call, I would have been able to see him immediately.
Okay, fair.
I had to book an appointment with him when he was in the office.
Okay, all right. So more bougie than that.
So this weekend is have you ever heard of anything called Sail GP?
Sail GP? No.
I had never heard of it either, but apparently it's F1 for sailboat racing.
Okay. This is pretty bougie. You're starting out pretty bougie.
So it's here this weekend.
It's in Halifax?
It's in Halifax. I mean, we have the perfect, our harbor is the second deepest natural harbor in the world. Like it's perfect, really, to race boats on.
Okay.
And it's here this weekend. And usually very low things come to Halifax. It's not a hoity-toity type of place.
I was going to say, it sounds more like a place where a rodeo would come or something.
No, it's not Westerny. That's like Western Canada cowboy shit. But if AC/DC was still touring, they would come to Halifax and people would be like, yeah, man, rock on, AC/DC, still young. But this week, Sail GP is here. And it's sponsored by Rolex. The people here don't know really what's going on. They're like, this is not really my jam. But I mentioned earlier that so many of these new yuppie people, myself included, have moved to Halifax, that now these sorts of events are coming. And I mean, I am a local. I'm from here to begin with, but I had moved away for so long. But the true from here people are not into this whatsoever. But it's race 11 of 12 or 11 of 13. After this, they're going to New York for the second to last of the season. Then they're going to San Francisco for the very last one. I think they're coming from Bermuda this time. I'm kind of excited to go watch this. I'm going on Saturday to watch the time trials. I got a patio booked at the harbor on the water. It's going to be a nice day. Sounds like a great time.
It does sound like a great time. I mean, that could be a bougier story. Really, all that to me, it's if something like that was happening close to me, I'd be in on it too. If F1 was taking place near me, I'd figure it out. But that could have been bougier if you were and it turns out, my friends at Underdog, they know the owner of one of the teams. And so, I get to go sit in one of the yachts that watches them sail around or whatever.
Well, I know the guy who organized the entire thing. He's one of my childhood friends. So I do get to go into the Rolex tent and, hang out with all of the real uppity ups with that sort of thing. And I booked an alternate table.
I bet they order their steaks medium fucking rare. Probably just rare, actually.
I think it just shows up for them. And they probably
eat
beef.
Blue marble.
They probably eat beef tartare, or it's like Will Ferrell in Old School, where, it could be a thong. It could be something that I don't even know about at this point. Just very surprising stuff. So, I get to enter that world of the very, very, very rich, which I am just not accustomed to being around. But I also booked an alternate table at one of the bars nearby that's on the waterfront. So my friends and I can go get drinks and hang out. But it's so funny because all these new restaurants have come into town. There's, a Michelin star chef who has moved back kind of like everyone else and opened up one of these restaurants. And I went to a 4-course tasting menu there not too long ago. And it blew Cuss' mind that he didn't want to come. He's like, how much is it? It's $100. And there's a wine pairing that you can get for it for another $100. He's like, well, I don't even know what food I'm getting. It's yeah, it's kind of the point of this entire thing. That's too much money. How big are the portions? I was probably pretty small if I had to guess. for a 4-course food tasting menu. He's like, well, I want as much food as I can get. Like there's that mentality still sticks around here, but all of the new restaurants are like, very rich food, not like financially, just like, like you would see in France kind of thing with very small portions. And people are like, there's not enough fries in this bag for me. Like it's such a weird bifurcation of like the society that we're running through right now with so much new money, new people, youthful people with money coming back to a place that's historically very poor.
And that results in there's a movie. There's a really good movie analogy here, and I can't quite get to it. Of like, Beverly Hillbillies, right? Is the big one where it's like the intersection of poor people and rich people. Although the shoe kind of is on the other foot because it's poor people just having to get used to rich people prices.
Yes, and portions and stuff made like, because before, like you'd walk downtown and I think we had the most bars per capita of any place in North America. Like it wasn't even close.
Right.
Like every second place and any second store and like a 4-mile radius was just somewhere to buy liquor, and they were all like cheap dive bars.
And now it's fucking Pottery Barns and
no, they're just like upscale.
Shops.
They're just upscale restaurants.
Interesting.
Not all of them, like half of them. Like you still have your dive bars, like they're still around. They're just way more expensive now. But everything's just like kind of nicer than when I grew up, because I went to college here too. So I used to go to those bars all the time. And just everything is cleaner and nicer. But there's also people like.
Do you like it?
What's that?
Do you like the upscale restaurants and the tapas bars?
Of course. That's what I like to do when I lived in New York, when I lived in Toronto. It's nice to see that is an option here. And just people are very resistant to it because it was never an option here before, it seems like.
I fucking hate tapas, honestly.
It really seems to go either way for people. I think it depends on where you go. Like I like it at like Spanish places or even Mexican places where there are little bits of different things that you would want to eat. But I know a lot of people be like, hey, here's the one thing that I want and I want to eat it. I don't want to share with anyone else. Like I understand that.
I mean, look, am I gonna throw a fit about going to tapas? Am I gonna eat it? Yeah, it's just like if I'm picking dinner though, we're not going to the French dining tapas place that's like 9 courses. Not for me.
That's not usually a tapas place. That's just
what I mean, like a tasting menu type thing though. Where it's
I thought you meant like shareables, like within like
no.
Come bring 5 dishes and you like build little plates off of it.
There, I'm belying my poor man sensibilities, confusing tapas with the tasting menu.
Well,
either way.
The tasting, I like the tasting menu because it like I'm not, and I always get killed whenever I say this, but I just don't like Italian food all that much. Like I don't like pasta, but it's not that I don't like it. It's just there are things that I like more, so I just never eat it. That I'd rather go to a French restaurant than an Italian restaurant or a Mexican restaurant rather than an Italian restaurant. But when you go to
it's all reasonable.
When you go to a tasting menu, you're just kind of the food is forced upon you, and not everything is going to be the greatest thing that you've ever eaten, but it does expand your palate to like, hey, I would never order this. I would never try this, but fuck, this is really good.
I mean, I do like that because I do tend to
eat the same things.
Yeah. Like we'll go to lots of different types of places like Mexican, Italian, Chinese, whatever. But yeah, I tend to get within the same category of foods at all those places for sure.
And I'm not saying to do this for every time that you go out and eat, but to do it like once every few months or something like that, just to try some new things. And the new things are thrust upon you. If you don't like it, I mean, they're not huge portions. You can take a bite and be like, hey, I don't like this. I'll wait for the next course to come out. Although that rarely ever happens because most of the places that are doing tasting menus tend to be very good food.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, not to say that like I wouldn't go to like one of these Michelin 3-star places and do a tasting menu. Like that sounds incredible.
We did that in Nice.
What restaurant?
Some like palatial place that had 3 tables in it.
Yeah. I really want to go to Alenia in Chicago, which is a Michelin 3-star place that does a crazy tasting menu.
I'm actually going to London in 3 weeks, right after the US Open. Never been to London, so I'm excited to try some places over there.
Yeah, London, famous for its great food.
It is famous for its great food. You just said you want to go to fucking Chicago.
It is, but not in the way that I meant it. It is famous for its great food, but the Brits eat shitty food.
I mean, yeah, we're not going there to eat porridge and beans and shit like that.
Blood pudding.
Yeah, but I think there's like 50 3-star Michelin restaurants and like down like 3 miles in London.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, London is like the most cosmopolitan city on earth, really.
Yeah, like we did the same thing when we went to Paris, but it just be I'm excited to go to London. I've always wanted to go to London. I've never been there, and it's so close to here. And just being able to take a direct flight to London that takes 5 hours to get there is kind of nice.
I mean, yeah, that is crazy. It definitely would be much more of a journey here from the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, like it would, because so few places fly direct from here to other places. Like for me to fly to you would take like twice as long than for me to fly to London.
Forever. Yeah.
All right, man.
It's good work if you can get it.
Listen, you know what's good work if you can get it? The fact that we just talked for like an hour and a half and I don't even know what we talked about.
I'll have to really rack my brain when I come up with the title. I have to be like, I definitely said something. I wonder what I said.
Well, we can recap here. What did we talk about on today's show? I can even make this the cold open to my version of the show because I forgot to write down anything. We talked about Lost. That was on there. Back
acupuncture.
Back injuries, acupuncture. Pick'em, Underdog Pick'em leagues.
What happens when you don't work out for a long time?
Muscle atrophy. Do you think that's good for
muscle
SEO?
Atrophy. Yeah, muscle atrophy. Does SEO even really exist anymore in the AI generation?
I don't know. I mean,
I've heard it doesn't really.
Yeah, that's just what they're telling you, so you don't do it.
Sure, maybe.
I still live under the impression that making the title of whatever something is something that is searchable, that people would want to search and tells you what it is probably the best route instead of having like a pun title.
Correct. Yeah.
Sale GP.
I
think that pretty much covers it.
Taylor Swift. You got to throw Taylor Swift in there. That's very good for the algo.
Yeah, but we didn't really talk about that, did we? That'd be like saying that Alshon Jeffrey should go inside the title of this.
Remember that guy?
Yeah, apparently he retired in 2020.
We learned. All right. Well, there we go. We did it.
All right, man. Hopefully this works out.
Let's hope so. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back.
See ya.
Mayo experience.
Yeah, I'd been using this microphone for a while, and then the audio levels on some of the stuff I was doing was way off, and I realized that if you have someone who doesn't have like a podcast, like you and I have like podcast setups, we have like we're optimized. But if you're just having someone on and they're just on their laptop or they're zooming on their phone or just whatever, it sounds shitty. This sounds like too clear compared to someone with shitty audio.
Interesting. I found that even like when I do stuff from here, because I'm not running anything, I'm running it just through OBS, even the sound, that I usually just go, that's why I record the Zoom meeting. Then I go take both audio files from that, level them out. Because they usually sound better. Like whatever I'm hearing from you, it sounds better on your end, whatever it is. Like it sounds fuller. So
yes. Yeah.
I found that just like making a mix of those two tracks works out easier.
Well, and Zoom auto balances the levels too between two callers. Like they've got something that does that.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why I'm a Zoom loyalist. A lot of people prefer StreamYard, but I'm a Zoom loyalist.
I just don't like the look of StreamYard. I find it looks really hack.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to have all the files local as opposed to doing anything on a web server. And I don't know. It's also just like what I'm used to. I don't like change. Who wants to learn something new?
I suppose that's true. Like I really looked into Riverside for a while just because it records everything locally. Like if your video is crystal clear on your end, but my Zoom isn't picking it up in absolute HD, it would do that. But then it just becomes really hard to edit the show. Like you need to have both. You can't like switch shots really. You need really have to go in and do your manual cuts in post production, which would take
who's
hours.
Got the time? Yeah, who's got the time?
Hours. So like for a record like this, I guess it would work out pretty well because I usually just leave both of us up the same time anyway when I record this video. But for in our studio, when we're like physically switching the cameras as the show goes along, it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Have you not hired a video editor guy?
No, never had a video. I mean, Paul edits sometimes. I edit most of the time.
That's I just know from being like paying attention to like video games, like people who are really into making video game content, streamers and YouTube and stuff. That's like one of the top things. That's like when you reach a certain level of success, that's one of the first things you do is you get a video editor.
I suppose I don't do that much editing to my shows though, and I usually manually edit.
It's different.
Yeah, and I usually manually edit as I go along. I'll be like, well, I want that, like, because I have the time codes in front of me, so I'll just write down the time code, and when I know that there should be a clip from the show, or be like, yeah, that wasn't good. Let's cut that part, like this chunk out. Then I'll just drop it on the time. I just always feel like it's easier for me to do it than someone else to do it. Maybe that's just being a megalomaniac.
Well, there's probably a little bit of there's probably a little bit of truth and a little bit of megalomania. Like certainly both of those things can be true.
Experience!